Hi, I'm Philidor,
And I'm Clara,
and this is a sheep staring at me.
a podcast on history, culture, literature.
Geeky things and life in general. And this is a Halloween special. Yay. Yeah, after 3 months.
Well, it's not our fault that Halloween is 3 months after Pride Month.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, why are we back? Because I don't know. Do we have our lives in control again or something? I don't think. Yeah. So Halloween. Why are we doing a Halloween special? Because we're bored? I don't know. Why are we doing a Halloween special?
Because it's Halloween. It's the logical thing to do.
Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, I think it's the first Halloween at which I'm actually doing something.
Same here.
Yeah. So, because we're having, well, it's not a party, it's a get together. But
Yeah.
it's definitely going to happen, I think. And
Well,
people are going to dress
I
up.
sure hope so. I have a
Yeah, I
costume
do hope so
ready.
too. Yeah. And actually, I think that's kind of really in the spirit of Halloween, of Samhain, to have a get together, have food, have a lot of lights, and yeah, be around people you like. Because, well, I'm not a Wiccan myself, but for Wiccans, as far as I read up on it, it's considered to be one of the 4 greatest Sabbats of the Wheel of Life, and no, the Wheel of the Year, that way, not life, Wheel of the Year. Yeah. And it's balanced out by Beltane, which is I think the 1st of May. And because at Samhain, at Halloween, the the curtain between life and death is the thinnest. And that's why weird stuff happens, ghosts come through, and monsters come through.
Lovely.
Yeah. And that's also why a lot of people do seances and things, because the curtain of the of the 2 worlds is the thinnest, and so you can theoretically contact.
Yeah, not a big fan of this.
I'm not a big fan of doing that either. I don't know if it's because I sort of believe in it, or because I just don't find it. I don't know. I don't find it right to kind of disturb that, because it can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm that kind of person who would say, sure, nothing would happen with that, and let's just do that. But I'm also the kind of person who once saw a horror film about deceased people living within mirrors and there being a parallel world that can suck you in. And I couldn't look at a mirror for a day and a night. And I'm not technically a scaredy cat. But things like that, mirrors, that's taking it a bit too far. Mirrors, parallel worlds, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and another thing is like with mirrors also, and creepy stuff. Never, if you meditate or anything, never meditate if there's a big mirror in the room or near you.
That's
Never
advice I can follow just fine, because one of the big grievances with my room is that there's no big mirror and I can't see myself all in once.
Actually, I actually was asked if I want a mirror in my room, and I said no, I don't, because there's mirrors in the flat, but I don't need one in my room. Like,
I have just one, and that shows just my face and shoulders, and that was scary enough, because this is technically not Halloween, but there was a Star Trek poster on my door for a long time of Spock. And when I stepped in front of the mirror, I would always, well, not be frightened, but sort of flinch for a moment, because there was a face behind me, But there was that stupid poster.
Yeah, well,
Mirrors.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah, actually, I looked up a few monsters that are, well, mostly Irish, I think, which kind of shows how slightly obsessed I am with Irish culture, not just at the moment, but generally. Yeah, I think my favorite in a weird way is the Dullahan, which is, well, I read several different definitions, but generally it's the headless horseman,
Oh
like
yeah.
Sleepy Hollow, like that, and yeah, and it's really creepy, but it's also defined sometimes as just an impish creature that can also is kind of a face changer and a skin changer and can pretend to be other things. I mean, yeah, not necessarily something you want to meet.
No, not really.
um yeah, and then I looked up a few others, and I think the one that I found creepy is because I didn't find anything about it at first, and then Wikipedia did have something on it, and some others did too. Is the, I think, puka.
Hmm.
Um, it's Irish for spirit or ghost, and that's technically also what it is. It's a spirit or ghost, but it's a spirit or ghost that I think can be both good and bad, and can hinder help or hinder things, and so if you don't want to make them angry, and you don't, it's kind of like fairies in a weird way, because you don't want to cross their way too much, and you don't want to hinder them doing whatever they're doing, and you don't want to make them angry, because
Yeah.
weird shit happens if you do. So yeah. And another thing with spirits is the slur, I think,
Hmm.
um, written Sluagh. It's modern Irish spelling Slua. It's a word for horde or crowd, and it's the restless spirit. And yeah, it's the restless dead, and I mean, that goes into Christian belief again, because I mean, I don't know how much you know about it, but
Almost nothing.
okay, yeah, well, because the reason, I don't know, especially Catholics put up lights on All Saints Day,
Eve.
All Saints Eve. No, I mean on the 1st of November,
Oh yeah, day.
All Saints Day. So they put up lights on All Saints Day at the graves of their deceased family, which in
Oh,
my
yeah.
case is a lot of graves. Uh,
In my case, none.
yeah, but well, it's a lot of graves where we are going to put up lights, and what the belief behind that is that because the spirits of the deceased can wander, because the this, like, wall between the living and the dead is quite thin, they can wander, and they wander around, and so they find their graves again, you put up a light.
Hmm.
And because you don't want a restless spirit around after All Saints Day. That's not a good thing.
Yeah,
And yeah, so that's the Catholic thing, I think. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but we still do it because it's like, it's also a nice
it's a nice
thing to
gesture.
do, I guess. Hmm?
It's a nice gesture, if
Yeah.
even if you don't believe anything of that, it's a nice gesture.
Yeah, I mean, also, if you have a lot of, graves of people you were related to or you liked or whatever, you
Yeah.
can't always go there. You just you can't always go there, and at least once a year you will then go there, and I guess that's a good reason.
I agree, yeah.
Anyway, I guess I mean, I wouldn't say enough about the dead, because that's not what this is about. Yeah, but again, to Halloween, do you have any weird stories, anything?
No, I have no weird stories at all. Because for me, Halloween just consisted in, just going around the houses as a child and collecting candy. Well,
that's a really old thing.
yeah. The neat thing about that was, though, I just remembered that at that time I always got the Mickey Mouse magazines, and there were these extra toys on it. And on Halloween, that was usually a Halloween mask or gloves with skeleton hands on it that glowed in the dark. So I don't think I ever thought up a costume, because I always had something that seemed scary. And they did seem scary, once it was a mask that covered half your face and made it look as if your face had been torn off.
Well,
children's magazine for you.
Well,
the skeleton gloves, love those. I'm sort of mad I don't have them anymore. I thought
I
about them a lot in the last days. I don't know why.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're thinking of costumes still for the Halloween thing we're doing.
I'm not thinking about costumes. I have a costume.
You were thinking about it. I know that.
I was thinking about that.
I'm still thinking about it. I still don't know what I'm going to do. Usually for me, that the kind of thing I would go back to if I didn't know what to do was just go as a witch.
Yeah.
I mean, I technically wouldn't even have to dress up. But I think our friends would probably understand that, but nobody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I am going as a certain Shakespeare character. Yes, I ordered a skull on Amazon.
Well, good that I'm not really, really good that I'm not going with my original idea, because my original ideas were either Wednesday Addams or Ophelia from Shakespeare, and I'm not going with that. So
I'm not going as Ophelia.
No, you're not going as Ophelia, but I wouldn't have to, it would be too many things in the same direction anyway.
It would also have been slightly freaky if I arrived dressed as I'm going to tell you now, dressed as Hamlet, would see you and you were dressed as Ophelia.
That would be very...
Not freaky because they had a thing, but freaky because it's the same play and they're both...
And because we both thought of it.
Yes.
That's the creepier part. I mean, I did think about, generally what are things that people would understand. Like it has to be a reference people get. And if I just go as I don't know, Lady Macbeth, nobody's gonna get that I'm Lady Macbeth. Like, even if I have a dagger with me, nobody's gonna get it because it's me.
Yeah, I thought about Macbeth too, because I would argue that that's the Halloween play in Shakespeare. Yeah. But if you go as one of the witches, if you don't have two friends with you, you're just a witch and not one of the witches.
Well,
and as Macbeth himself, well,
I mean, how do you portray Macbeth?
Yeah.
Like, again, if you have a dagger with you and are dressed in medieval dirty clothes, that could be anyone.
Indeed, yeah. And I thought that from the get-go, I'm slightly too slim, too little bearded, and too just not Macbeth-like. Or Lady.
And you're not a redhead. I think a lot of people think Macbeth was a redhead. I don't know why, but I think he wasn't actually. I saw a documentary about the real person behind the play, because there was one, as far as we know.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a redhead, but I don't know, there was something about the fact that he had anger management issues or something like that. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. Considering all that law of the time and, you know, yeah. Yeah, on the illustrations and in the descriptions I saw at Scone Palace, Scotland, I don't remember him being a redhead, but that being said, that was in 2015.
Well.
Or 18, maybe 16. You see, I don't know.
It was before Corona.
Indeed. It was before 2019.
Okay, yeah, well, that's a time reference. I mean, yeah.
One could go as King Duncan. I mean, that would maybe be recognizable to, but I mean, if you put on a crown and ghostly makeup and attire,
that could also be Hamlet's father.
Indeed, old King Hamlet. So
it could also, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be ghostly makeup, but sometimes ghostly makeup goes wrong and just looks like you're pretending to be an old person. So it could be King Lear. So
yeah, there's too many ghosts and kings and king ghosts in Shakespeare too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially king ghosts.
And I think also, I don't know, mad women or whatever is also like women that get mad or are talked about as mad. That's a very big thing as well in Shakespeare. Like, you could go as Catherine. I mean, I could go as Catherine. That would sort of fit. I mean, it would maybe be a bit strong to say I'm a shrew, but some people might consider me one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, how do you show that it's Catherine and not...
Yeah, it's not that there's no Halloween stuff in Shakespeare, but there's too much. I mean, as Ophelia, you could still carry a bunch of flowers, but then again, that's a reference not many will get. And
yeah, but I thought, you know, the flower crown is the main thing, the flower crown and the flowery kind of dress. And I have a dress like that, and I have the hair for this, and you know, it could be done and people would immediately get it because, again, it's me.
Yeah.
And people would immediately get that it probably is a Shakespeare reference. So,
but yeah, it had to be Hamlet after some little thinking, because, well, with the others, you know, you put on a crown and you're a king, but then you can be any king. I saw a costume on the internet that said it's a King Richard III costume, but it was just a dark crown. And, well, I would say you could go with a sign that says no horse or something like that. But...
yeah, or for example, I mean, if you had it, that would be a weird thing to do, but if you had like nieces or nephews or small children around you, you could just dress them up as if they were either prisoners or dead, and just you know, make yourself look like a humpback, and it kind of would work. But again, it would just work if it's geeks around you. It wouldn't. I don't know if normal people would get it.
Yeah. I just chose the Shakespeare character that, at least in my imagination, fits sort of my statue, short hairstyle, and, you know, best. I don't know about Hamlet's hairstyle. I've never wondered about that.
Well, I have wondered about that because I was in a production of Hamlet. I didn't play him, but we did think about this quite a lot. And the conclusion that we had was basically he's a Dane, so he's bound to be blonde. So you're on a good way. You know?
Yeah, and the first version I watched was the one with Kenneth Branagh. So,
oh my God, did you watch the whole thing?
Yes, twice.
It's so long. It's got 2 DVDs.
I know.
I mean, good. It's bloody mental.
Yeah, but it was.
I mean, it's good. It's good. It's good. I probably would have decided the whole. I mean, a whole lot of things I would have probably done differently. But then again, why don't you, if you watch Kenneth Branagh, you know about the drama that's going to come your way. So
still can't get over the fact that guy played Gilderoy Lockhart.
Oh, but by the way, be glad that you didn't choose a Shakespearean king, but because we already have 2 people with crowns coming, I think.
I have a crown too.
Yeah, well,
it's a crooked crown because it's a wacky prince.
Well,
it's not a king crown, but just
yeah, but then there's a lot of people with crowns.
Technically, my costume is a couple's costume because I have Yorick with me.
Well, yeah, and you're gonna have to dress in dark colors because that is literally referenced.
Well, I don't have dark black colors. Oops, dark black colors. Look at you, Clara. Well, it's what I mean to say. I don't have a dark blackish colors that seem, medieval or Shakespeareish, but dark blue.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
now I want to go as Lady Macbeth. Damn it.
Well,
yeah, I mean, the bloody hands could be a sign.
I thought about that too, but then I thought I really hate when my hands are sticky, so I will not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go shopping in a bit, so if I find a solution, you'll see.
I'll see, yeah.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of Halloween stuff in Shakespeare.
Oh yes. My favorite bit was really still, I don't know if I talked about that in a previous episode. I don't know. But I do remember that I was in an Übung. It was a small course on Shakespeare's tragedies, and we talked about Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, and Othello. And when we did Macbeth, there were summer storms, and we had a room that had on 3 sides windows and glass, and it was really warm, so we had like quite a lot of windows open, and there was blends because it was very light out, and it was really it was a really stormy summer day. And on that very stormy summer day, our lecturer decided that we should read in groups of 3 the opening bit of Macbeth, so the 3 witches, and then we should also do the double toil and trouble, bubble
fire burn and cauldron bubble,
yeah, that part, so the witches bits basically. And when my group did it, I think 2 or 3 times, and the first time a bit more silent, and then we were the last group to speak through it in a chorus, and everyone was already silent. The mumbling had stopped, and we were chanting this, and suddenly there was thunder and a wind, and it was really creepy. And that wasn't even Halloween, that was just weird.
That is creepy, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, but I think that isn't even the most Halloween-y thing in Shakespeare. I know you have at least a favorite. I mean, at least one favorite of weird ghosty thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, I don't know, but you really love Shakespeare stuff, and so what's your favorite ghostly occurrence in Shakespeare? Because there's a lot.
That's a tricky question, and I didn't expect this to be so tricky. So are you saying strictly ghostly or ghostly and supernatural?
let's go with ghostly and supernatural because it's possibly easier.
I'd still have to go for the stereotypical bit and say Hamlet's father.
Okay.
Simply because of plot devices. I'm trying not to get too much into my English teachery alter ego now, but because it prompts or seems to prompt Hamlet's madness, if there is a madness, if it didn't start before, or if he's mad, it starts something in Hamlet. And in some productions, his appearance is portrayed as quite violently, how he shouts as Hamlet to avenge him. And I'm thinking about the 2009 production with David Tennant now.
Yeah.
That was pretty loud.
That was
and
crazy.
What I like about those productions, and by extension, how I think about it happening in the play, is it's not this faint, ghostly whisper.
Yeah.
But it's really loud and present for a ghost, and it's still very much a ghost, but a very present ghost at that. So that's why I like Hamlet's father. And also, we never meet him.
True.
Other than other people, Duncan, we meet him alive.
Yeah,
Caesar, we definitely meet him, but I forgot if he is a ghost. Actually, he is.
I actually wanted to say that would be my favorite part, the ghostly stuff in Macbeth, because it's a psycho play. It's like it plays with you psychologically as a viewer or reader or person who wants to interpret it in some way. Even if you direct a production of Macbeth, you need to make decisions there that are quite, that are going to be very psychological.
Yeah.
Because do I see a dagger in the dagger scene?
Do we show a dagger on stage or do we not?
Is there a dagger or isn't there a dagger?
Do we show?
So that's a big question. Is there going to be a dagger? I think one of the funniest for me solutions probably was in Kenneth Branagh's Macbeth, where it was a play. There was technically a dagger, but it was the shadow of a dagger.
Ooh, I like that.
I really like that because technically there isn't a dagger, but there is a dagger. So it's this psychological bit again. And then again with Duncan, the question is, do we see a ghost? Or so are we in Macbeth's head, or are we viewing it as everybody else?
And do we see bloody hands with Lady Macbeth, or do we not see bloody hands?
Usually you don't, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember an instance where we did. With the dagger and Duncan, I remember several productions where we didn't see the ghost, we saw the ghost, or vice versa.
Also a different thing is, if you do have a ghost Duncan on stage, does he just sit there? Or in today's world, is it perhaps like I don't know, not a hologram, but is it maybe a projection? That would be a thing that you could do. That would be a that ghost would be very ghostly and would also be, couldn't interact technically. And then again, if you have someone sitting on stage, does he interact in a way? Does he kind of put his hand forward and look like he was going to touch Macbeth or something like that, or does he not do anything? It's like,
here's an idea: immersive Shakespeare plays.
I've been in one of those.
As a play where the audience is heavily immersed.
I mean, the production of Hamlet that I was in was sort of like that.
I mean, I know there already are plays like that out there. This is not a new idea.
Oh yeah.
But for example, the witches come out of the audience and they talk to the audience, stuff like that. I just want to be haunted by Macbeth. I don't. I take that back.
There's two things with the witches that two interpretations that I personally find very cool. And if I ever did a production of Macbeth, perhaps as a director, I don't know, I'm not a director, but I do think about stuff like that. if I ever did one, I would probably use at least one of them. For one, having the same actress who plays Lady Macbeth play Hackett.
Yes.
Which it is possible because they never meet, and also Hackett never meets Macbeth. So she, as far as I've got that in my mind, she shows up, then she leaves, then Macbeth shows up, I think.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so that would never, that wouldn't clash, but it would again suggest that Lady Macbeth also is in some way witch, which is something that is anyway in the text suggested quite a lot, because she also does the mathematical stuff. And
yeah, it draws up that parallel.
Or having another idea would be having one witch play all the witches, one person play all the witches, and just basically play it as I don't know, actually play different characters and jump from character to character. I don't know how to explain that, but
yeah.
That got very Shakespeare-y here.
I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a lot of Halloween stuff in Shakespeare.
There is.
Because they were obsessed with the supernatural.
I mean, but there's a lot of Halloween stuff in Sherlock Holmes.
There is, and I thought about Sherlock Holmes minutes ago. Because if I may, interject here quickly.
You may.
The Hound of the Baskervilles. I mean, that's a very obvious thing to go for if we talk about Halloween and Sherlock Holmes. But I have to say that is one of the scariest books I've ever read. And because it's not because there's a lot of scary stuff in it. In fact, spoiler, there's not. But when you, let's say 12 years old or 15, I don't know how old I was, and I don't think it matters that much. And it's slightly dark outside, and you read The Hound of the Baskervilles, and it describes the howling of a dog on the moor, and people are in a cave and outside on the moor. That's scary, and it's really well written. So that's a recommendation for everyone out there. Read Sherlock.
Absolutely. And also I remember I talked with someone who was in my class. I don't know, I think we must have been like 17, 18 at the time. And we talked about the series Sherlock and how they interpreted The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Oh, yes.
And that we personally thought, we know the stories, so it's not going to be creepy for us. It's not going to be scary. It's not going to be a problem. And then we watched the episode.
Yeah.
And got the fright of our lives. Not because it's actually scary, but because, again, psychoplay.
Yeah.
There's so much psychological stuff at play there.
Indeed.
It really creeps you out, especially if you're in like a ghostly or creepy phase anyway. Like when I was 17, I was researching like Victorian serial killers.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. Yeah.
So
I would say that's one of the most scary bits about it, the psychological stuff and the evil that men go to. Almost quoting Sherlock Holmes here, but I would argue that in a way, Sherlock Holmes, or let's stay with The Hound of the Baskervilles, is more scary than some monster stories you could write, because with the monster stories, it's obvious what is the scary bit, but with detective stories, with psychological thrillers, with storylines where human beings are the perpetrators, but they just skim the edge of the supernatural, or seem to, and in the end, oh, it's all been a human being. That's one of the scariest bits at all.
That's scarier, because also The Last Vampire. That's so, I mean, also the Jeremy Brett film of The Last Vampire. I don't know if you know it.
I don't.
It's so scary in a way, because that Sherlock Holmes, unlike his maker, unlike Arthur Conan Doyle, does not really believe in the supernatural like that.
Oh, yes, I remember. I saw that one, and it is scary.
It is really
I'm still
scary.
mad at Holmes for turning around and scaring Watson with the vampire.
Not just that, not just the beginning scene.
No, that was funny, but
it's really funny in the end because you don't expect it, that he dresses up as a vampire.
Yes.
I can really recommend that film, by the way. It's really good.
No, I've seen it, I think. I just was confused because it said film, and I was still thinking episode, but yes.
Yeah, no. I mean, also the thing that is scary in that episode isn't the fact that you see scenes of the, I don't know, 16th, 17th century or whenever, or 18th century, a pastime, when people burn down a house because they think there's a vampire living in it. That isn't the scary part of the film. The scary part of the film is the point where Sherlock Holmes himself is doubting himself, I think.
Yeah.
And the vampire, the man who is assumed to be a vampire, is also, he was in Peru or something, I think, and comes back and thinks he's a vampire, and you don't know if he really thinks it or if that's just escapism of a weird thought, and it's really weird.
Again, we're back with the psychological,
Yeah,
when the hero is doubting himself, and
yeah, well, I mean, that's also, but the psychological bit is also, I think, a big part of Halloween, especially today, because if you do, I don't know, a Ouija board, which originally, by the way, was a game and not like a way to contact ghosts. It was a game that is still manufactured by the company that originally did, I think. And if you have a Ouija board, it usually it was something to contact your subconscious with it. So what do I really want? What's my actual dream? What, I don't know, something like that, to contact yourself, the part of yourself that you can't usually really get into contact with. And then I don't know if ghosts just got involved or if it's the belief of the people. That happened through film. I forgot which one, to be honest.
I don't know either.
I don't know. Was it
watch a lot of horror films? But
I don't know. I don't watch these. But the Ouija board bit really is. I mean, the glass or whatever is gonna move, but then again, psychologically seen, is that because everyone believes in it, or is that because ghosts actually got involved, if we believe in such a thing? I don't know.
I mean, in any case, regardless of what you believe, it's giving up control that scares human beings. And it doesn't really matter if a ghost is pulling the other side of the little triangle or the other person, but there's two people, and I would imagine you think that, oh no, the other person is pulling it, and both think the other person is pulling it.
Yeah.
And maybe they both pull it, but
I think it's the point that you do get in touch with your subconscious in that way, because your conscious mind can't make sense of it anyway.
Yeah. There's a reason for subconscious.
I mean, it's kind of, I guess, if we were students of psychological stuff, you could make a lot of assumptions about that and possibly also write a lot of stuff about it.
Probably.
So, I mean, I could probably talk about, I don't know, English literature or theatre more than...
What horror film could you recommend?
I don't watch horror films.
I have one very clear answer. My only answer.
What?
Pet Cemetery.
Never watched it.
It's good. It's really good. It's I think it's from the 80s. So before the whole slasher franchise / jump scare franchise started, And I would argue maybe it only works once because of the suspense. I was very excited for it because it has Denise Crosby, aka Tasha Yar from Star Trek: The Next Generation in it.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I didn't know that before though, so when I saw her, I got really excited. It's good. Let's just say it's an old house, a black cat, a little boy, a street on which lorries drive too fast, and an old Indian burial ground.
Okay.
All coming together. And
yeah.
I would argue that there's no jump scares. There probably is, but there's no jump scares as being there just for being jump scares.
Yeah, we probably would also not notice the jump scares that scared people in the 70s and 80s quite a lot, or that much, because we are used to jump scares even in like romantic comedies. Like it's fucking mental.
And that's why that works so much in my mind. Yeah. There's no real jump scares. It's mostly this, well, to quote Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, this whisper in your head that says one day we're going to die.
Well, I've now thought about it. I guess probably if I'd have to say a favorite horror movie, I'd probably go with Sleepy Hollow, because it's probably the only one I've actually seen. No, it's not the only one I've ever seen. I mean, not technically being a horror film. I would say The Silence of the Lambs is probably one of my favorite films.
I've seen that one too, and that was really creepy.
I didn't find it creepy.
Yeah, I don't know not creepy as in horror creepy, but disgusting.
Not even, I didn't even find it particularly disgusting. I don't know. I had like one or two situations where I was like, ugh. The one with the moth. I
don't remember that.
Deathly scared of like moths, of these big nights.
Yeah.
You know, not the small little things that eat your clothes, but the big ones. I'm really afraid of those bloody things, and that's because I didn't sleep a night when I was 14 or 15, because I was 14 or 15 and I thought I should try that. And there was a really big moth, like it was really big, and it scared the shit out of me, and since then I'm scared of those bloody things.
Yeah, I had an encounter of that kind too.
Yeah,
but it was a small moth in my case, but it flew under my shirt. Not nice. I always say I'm not afraid of bugs and flying animals. I'm just afraid that I'm going to squish them against my naked skin, because something about that doesn't seem right. I also don't like killing people, animals. That was a bad Freudian slip.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I'm not afraid of animals unless it's logical and realistic to be afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them if I just see a picture of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there's a crocodile, I'm afraid enough not to go near it.
That's a very healthy response, actually.
So, I mean,
yeah,
I don't have a death wish in that way. I mean, I'm too dramatic for that.
I'm slightly afraid of raccoons.
Yeah, but you have a reason.
Because they're in our garden, and because
there's raccoons around your house quite a lot. So
I haven't seen them in a while. I like them actually.
But they can give you rabies, so you don't want a raccoon.
You're not going to touch them, but still, they have thumbs. Anyway. That's the thing, you know. They have thumbs. It's a wild animal that has opposable thumbs.
Yeah. Well,
and something about that is making me uncomfortable. Good on them for having thumbs, but not with me.
Okay. I think actually we should maybe stop talking.
Probably, otherwise we're going to scare people away.
Not just because of that. I think we've been talking quite a while, and
I was meaning to be polite.
Well, and we do plan on doing proper episodes again soon. Yeah, we do need to get some guests for that, I think, but otherwise people will just listen to us ramble about raccoons. and Macbeth, and I mean,
Well,
you know. But yeah. So I guess happy Halloween.
happy Halloween. Don't let the ghost get you.
And don't forget to put on a light, to have a light, because you should listen to Dumbledore.
Yep. At least in that case.
Yeah.
In many others, not.
In many political cases, you should really not listen to Dumbledore, but
please don't train your genes to die.
Yeah, but don't forget to turn on a light.
Yes. Cheerio.